Hi, my name is Amy and I am Make Art Ride Bikes. Today we are working on our squat flow. So the squats are the theme, the squats are the peak, the squats are everywhere within this flow. But we use all kinds of creative ways to mobilize ankles and hips so that we're feeling good in these shapes. It's going to be fun. You'll want to have 2 blocks, preferably a heavier block. But you can get by with anything to just give your hands a little lift at one point in the practice. So don't need them a whole lot, but that's what you want to have on hand today. 2 blocks and probably a yoga mat. I'll keep myself on this yoga mat. Whatever space you have at home, make it work. Begin laying on your back. Let's go right into the heels as close to the sit bones in terms of our stance, and our knee is nice and narrow. So whatever you need to do. For myself, I pick up and place my feet a little closer, and I will squish the knees together for today's purposes. Big toes might be touching. Hands just beside your body. Take a few moments to land your hands, your palms, your feet, your skull. Find a big breath in that emphasizes the prints of your fingers, your footprints, your head. Then throughout the duration of your exhale, as hard as you can, squeeze your knees, your inner thighs together. You can lose some of that inner thigh effort. Take an inhale that really pressurizes your hands, your feet, and your head into the floor. Breathe in. And then as you exhale, squeeze the knees together. Squeeze the whole inner thigh line together. This is your grounding exercise, your first intro to strength, so make this challenging and thoughtful for yourself. Again, the inhale is handprints, footprints, and your skull print nice and exaggerated. And the exhale is the squeeze, the solid feeling of the inner thighs. Keep going with this. And then let's sprinkle in more and more leg strength and awareness. Pause here with the knees squeezed together, with the shins maybe even feeling tight, the hands nice and stuck on the floor. We'll eventually alternate legs, but start with the right one. Stand on your right heel so that you're pulling the right toes back towards the shin as much as you can. This will be a repeated strength, so find some awareness in the front of that right shin bone. Bonus if you can find some fatigue in the front of the right shin bone just by your efforts to pull the toes back. Let's keep this right ankle bent back and then just pull the right knee in towards the chest. So maintain a tight knee bend. As you pull this right thigh in really close, feel your toes maintaining their pull back. Feel your calf sort of crushing against your hamstring. Your hands are strong, and a big effort is also to back your low spine into the floor. So your belly might automatically wake up if you pressurize low spine backwards. Pause in this first one, trying to feel even on left and right pelvis, left and right low back. And then very sneakily replace the right heel down really close to the sit bone. Land the toes, shuffle. Rearrange so that you've got that nice footprint, and we're alternating. Bend the left toes back, getting that original fatigue in the front of that left shin bone. Back your low spine into the floor, and then keeping a tight leg bend, a very careful leg bend. Pull left knee towards chest. As the left leg rises off of the floor, take it as an opportunity to not interrupt the low back. Really push the low spine, both sides of the pelvis backwards. Maintain a bend back of the ankle. Knees nice and close as you replace the left heel, replace the toes. So your hands are strong, head is strong. Maybe the belly does a little bit of a lift so that your low back is effective on the floor. Let's do right toes pull back. Engage that tight leg bend. Let your low spine back into the floor as you simply pull the right knee as deeply and as actively into the chest as you can. Return your right heel. Return your right toes. Pull the left toes back and then bring that left leg in nice and tidy, nice and close. Low back pushing into the floor. Hamstring and calf almost invading one another's space. Land left heel. Land left toes. Bend right toes back, drag right leg into the chest, push your low spine into the floor, keep the hips side by side and level. Land right heel, land right toes. Left foot pulls back, left leg pulls back towards you, low back strong on the floor. Land left heel, land the whole left footprint, pull right toes back. Bring bent leg in towards you, low back strong on the floor. Inner thighs are still awake here. Nice and tidy landing with the heel, then the foot. Pull left toes back, pull left thigh back. Low back strong, hands still strong. Land heel, land toes. Last of each, pull right foot back. Drag right leg in. Land right heel, land right footprint. Left toes pull back. Left leg drags in, draws in. Heel hits the floor, rest of the footprint hits the floor. Let's walk the feet, the knees, the shins a little closer together. Hands hard on the mat, elbows straight. With both feet landed, of course we stay. Re-engage that inner thigh squeeze. It's easier with the stillness of the legs with this held place. And like we did throughout that last exercise, back your low spine into the floor. Now we'll use that a little more effectively, that action. Let's stand on the heels, so bend the ankles back on both of the feet this time. Really back the low spine into the floor, round your sit bones towards the ceiling or towards the ends of the knees. That's your cat spine and your posterior pelvic tilts. Back of the pelvis pushing backwards into the floor. Land your feet, and then just lift your butt up off of the floor. Just your pelvis, not moving into your spine a whole lot. Squeeze your inner thighs, and then replace your butt and your pelvis back down to the floor. Nice and squeezed. Find that exaggerated scoop, so pull your butt under, your belly feeling firm. Just lift your butt, and then just land your butt. 3 more like that. Scoop tail, lift your butt. Land your butt. Scoop tail, lift your butt, land your butt. Scoop tail, lift your butt, land your butt, and then squeeze the knees together. We're landed. Stand onto the heels, so you squeeze the front of the shin bones, awakening the front of the shins. Step into your feet, squeeze your butt underneath you, and now roll up into your first bridge. So your knees, your shins continue to push forward. Your butt is off of the floor, and now you're building your spine more into the front of your body. So the opposite of previous advice of backing the spine towards the floor. Now see if you can feel yourself pulling the spine towards the ceiling. Shoulders can narrow in. Elbows straight, hands landed. As if there's a little book, a little novel underneath your foot. Just hover your right foot to about that height. Try not to drop the left hip. Land your right foot, and then just float your left one, as if somebody has just slid a little book underneath it. Let it land. Lift your right foot. Land it. Lift your left. Land it. Lift right, land, lift left, and land. Do it one more time. Right foot hovers, land, left foot hovers, land. Let's stop and develop the bridge. Lift off of the floor, arms pressing down and strong, shins pushing forward, butt nice and scooped. And then from top to bottom we lower. One more bridge pose. Walk your feet to your hip width. And then simple bridge. Let your sit bones roll under, so we back our low spine into the floor. We get that posterior pelvic tilt, which means your pelvis going back behind you. Heavy backside of pelvis. Push into the feet and roll yourself up into a full bridge. Arms strong on the floor. Maybe the hands and the shoulders have waddled out of the ears. Keep the shins pushing forward. Keep your butt nice and squeezed and holding you up. And then get a certain feeling of pull or a certain feeling of stuck in the heels. Play like you could pull the heels back towards the back of your head. The goal or the insight here is feeling the hamstring squeeze as you do so. Let's push a little at the ball of the foot end of the foot. Push into the toes, the shins. And then behave like the feet are pulling the mat. Pull with the heels. Both heels working as even as you can find. Push with the toes, the shins. Pull with your heels. One more, push with the shins. And then hold, pulling those heels back. Hold, stay strong for 5, 4, 3. Keep pulling, try lifting higher for 2. And then lower from top to bottom. Our feet stay at their hip width, where they currently reside. Fix chest, fix shoulders if need be. And then playing up previous movements, bend right ankle back so you're standing on the right heel. You've already had the experience of pulling the right knee into the chest, so do that. But now let's kick and release the right heel high. So you just have the right thigh at 90, just stuck out from the hips, from the pelvis. So you can use your hands to feel that the hips are side by side. Nothing terribly askew there. Keep using the advice of backing the low spine backwards. We'll just work ankle, shin, thigh bone mobility here. No big movements yet. Look at the right foot, the lifted one, and see that it's pointing at 12 o'clock. So you might have to just very precisely roll the big toe knuckle, the thigh, the knee, the shin a little bit in order to accomplish neutral, 12 o'clock. Stop to feel that. Just feel the edges of the hips pulling down towards the floor. Your side borders feeling solid. And now observe as you turn this right foot out to 45 degrees. So not a big duck foot out, just about a halfway. Feel for, notice any change in the tissue as you point the foot out, and the toes stay active. So maybe you adjust more, heel towards the ceiling, toes towards the floor. Again, ankle mobility being a massive part of your squat, of your body. Let's return the foot to neutral or 12 o'clock. Might be a good way to communicate that. Edges, sides of the hips stay down. And then just do that one more time. Point the toes to 45 degrees, which would be about 2 o'clock on this right leg. And then behave like you are holding a plate on this right foot. So make the foot really alive, this really nice surface area. Our right leg is now going to perform a squat. So a single-legged squat. Push the hands and the low spine into the floor. And just bend your right knee towards the right side of your mat, or maybe towards the right shoulder might be a reasonable cue. It'll make sense more as we go along, as we rep this. But let's stay heavy in both of our butts, both of our hip points. Remember that you are holding something atop of that right foot. So clearly the right inner thigh is open. Bonus if you're feeling a little bit of work in the outside of the right hip to do this active half squat in the right leg. Now get yourself back to where you started. Maintain the 45-degree turnout and just leg press to the ceiling. The same leg, the right leg going straight. Let's repeat this. Pull the right knee down towards the right side of the floor. The behavior is if you're holding a plate on that right active foot, your left butt stays down, belly has to stay strong to not eschew the hips. The hips side by side, your low back heavy. And then leg press the ceiling, maintaining that foot turn out. Pull the knee wide and down to the right. Push the foot, push the ceiling off of you, going straight. Pull, finding the bend. Push, finding the straight. Pull, finding bent knee. Push, going straight. And do one more pull. Pull this right leg into a squat. Wake up that right foot. And then just so that all of our exits, all of our entrances are pretty and useful, let's find strength in the right inner thigh, inner knee to just bring the leg into a stacked 90 position. Pause there to feel strong, to interpret, to keep giving your low back a chance to reset. And then return the right foot onto the floor. So again, feet are placed at hip width. You can do a little wag as I'm showing, a mini windshield wipe before we locate that same effort on the other side. Lifting and landing the tailbone as in bridge is great. So any of the adjustments you're seeing in me or craving in yourself, go for that. The left leg experience, you'll feel uneven hopefully right now. Let's even it out. Stand on left heel, so big old bend of the left toes, left ankle back. Awaken the belly, so navel up towards the throat, back, low spine into the floor, like you've already done. A tight pull of left knee in towards the chest. And then first time on this leg, we'll pull the left heel up towards the ceiling. And then now knowing where you're going, do what needs to be done to make this leg neutral. So it's probably going to be a bit of an internal rotation, turning that left big toe mound to 12 o'clock. And then finding effort, finding the subtle work that it takes to keep the outside of the left butt pinned down to the floor. Outsides of both of our hips are strong. Currently, left foot is at 12. Let's pull the toes back towards the shin. Put that imaginary plate or tray on the top of your foot. Before we assume that squat shape, let's just practice our first 45-degree turn out. Asking the foot, the outer thigh, and a little spin in the shin bone to happen as the foot points to, in this case, 10, 11 o'clock, back to 12 o'clock. Turn this left foot out. Low back strong, outer hips heavy and responsible. Go back to 12. Let's just do one more on this leg. So the foot is commanding it, but let's hope that you're feeling the shin, the thigh bone also do this cooperative turnouts. Just before we squat for the first time, pretend you're holding that tray. So ask the left toes, the left ankle to pull back and pull the whole leg. Pull the knee down towards the floor, trying not to change a whole lot about the shin, the foot. Right hip stays heavy, hands stay heavy, right foot stays heavy. This is my less developed side, so it looks a little different. You will look different from side to side. Find your push. A knee goes straight, foot goes up. The turnout is maintained. Find your pull. Pull the knee wide and down. And then push. Hold that tray to the ceiling. Squeezing knee straight. Pull, bending knee wide. Let's do 3 more. Let's push. Let's pull. Hips side by side, pelvis side by side. Last 2, push the ceiling. Pull. Push. And pull and stay. Getting strong, shaky, squeezy in the outside of this left hip. There's a little bit of work going on in my inner thigh. Sometimes it's compression as well. So take the time to level out the hips. And then make it fancy. Keep the foot flexed. Pull the left knee, the left shin towards midline. Step that foot down to the floor. So you've done your first squat, really. Now that both legs have worked their squat. Let's go ever so slightly messy. The feet can waddle mat width. And then just calm windshield wipe. The legs following one another. slightly out of sync. Just refreshing your low back before we move on. We will skip to upper body, but we will keep our legs engaged. You'll stay on your back. You'll pause this windshield wipe if you're still moving, and then just feet to your hip width. You can lift and land your tailbone. Feet to your hip width. Let's zombie the arms up to the ceiling. So go with passive arms at that chest height. Find that both feet are strong. Hopefully the pelvis is still a little bit warm from that last exercise. And again, tone the belly so that your low back can stick out into the floor. Simple circles with your wrists. I won't guide it. Just find some mobility, lots of movement, switching directions when it makes sense. Pull back nice and heavy, nice and pressed into the floor. A few more circles. And then meet me in a position where you can just spread the fingers out. And maybe do that a few times, just opening the webbing of your hands and closing it. We're eventually moving into a weightless bench press. We're pressing the air, so just wake up the hands knowing that you'll be holding that pretend bar. Okay. Bend your wrists back so that your fingers are open to the ceiling. You might be peeking at me from time to time and or looking up at the ceiling. Your wrists are straight, but your hands are bent back. Elbows are perfectly straight right now. Have a look to see that your elbow creases are attempting to face you. So the triceps are really behind you. They're really rolled out of the way. You can just see the biceps. So that's tricky to do. Your hands will want to turn out to help you turn those biceps up, but you just keep the hands fixed straight. Now from here, push the ceiling off of your body. So the arm bones have skipped off of the floor, but have a very pronounced push of the middle back, the shoulder blades into the floor. So this is the upper body cat pose. Find that as your middle back sticks out, the front of your rib cage pulls down towards your guts, towards your hips. So just keeping you long on both sides of your body, keeping the feet super solid, the guts engaged. Now, your back stays round as you do the tiniest elbow bend. So you'll start to see the backs of the hands move towards you. You're starting your bench press. The bent elbows point basically away from you. They can point a little bit out to the left and to the right, but we'll do more of a yoga bench press. Tighter elbows beside you. Now think of the word pull as you pull the backs of the arms onto the mat beside you. So your thumb should be at chest level, as if you were holding that bench press bar. Let's just make this air bench press a little bit more hardy by stopping here to push the ends of the elbows, the backs of the shoulders into the floor. And then we realize that it's 2 pushes. Ground your low back, let your rib cage go down, push this bar up, super tight elbow squeeze, and then push it farther up so that your middle back spreads out. Keep your middle back big, do a baby elbow bend, and then find that the shoulder blades do texture differently as you pull the upper arms to the floor. Elbows stop to push, chest is brightly open. Push, elbows going straight. Second push, stick your middle back out to really develop the rib cage. And then pull, baby elbow bend. Pull more until you can ground the backs of the arms onto the floor. Feel some awakening in the sides of your rib cage. So maybe you kind of pump your armpits at this point in the practice. Let's push. Let's push higher. And then think of the side of the rib cage. Think of pumping the armpits as you pull. Elbows hitting the floor, the whole back surface of the arm solid. Push. Push again, middle back sticking out, hands leaning to the ceiling. Pull, completely pull, grounding the backs of the arms. Push, elbows straight. Push higher, middle back sticking out, and then pull. Last pull, exaggerate strengths in torso. Strong feet, middle back backing out into the floor, low back strong, hold at the bottom of this bench press. 5, inner arms tight, maybe the rib cage pumping out into those arms for 3, 2, and for 1, plant palms onto the floor, and then roll onto one side. Come around into a tabletop where you will utilize the mentioned blocks. Take them to their tallest position. And let's squeeze the blocks and the knees together. Much like you had just done at the top of the bench press, make that middle back stick out, squeeze the rib cage down. Stay here, just making really awesome use of the blocks, the height that they offer, middle back awareness sticking up towards the ceiling. Squeeze the inner thighs. Now back into your squat power, your glute awareness, your leg power for squats. Just hover your right shin bone. So at this point I have my feet, my right foot, my right lifted foot in a ballet point. Super bonus if you're feeling some squeeze in the left leg that's holding you up. Push these blocks, make your middle back big, the gut strong and on. Hips are side by side so they haven't become askew, and then just push the right thigh out to the side. So the shin will stick out. I'll flex my foot at this point. And now use inner thigh fibers of this right leg to pull your leg back to center. Maybe it bumps against the left one. And then push, float, squeezing outside of your butt, pushing on these blocks. Guts really lifted, middle back big. Pull the knee back to middle. Push. So again, prepping our squats. Pull. Allow your mind to see how this is. Some of the strength required in that squat. Push the thigh out. Pull thigh in. Push. Pull. Push. Pull. Push. Pull. Push. Pull. And then push to hold. Just leave that right foot bent back, the shin pushing out, the belly lifting up, elbows squeezed. 5, 4, pushing out of blocks, finding outer hip for 3, 2, and for 1, squeeze that right thigh in. As you tap the knee down and come back onto the top of that right ankle, your buffer between sides is to really push these blocks. Examine that space in the shoulder blades. That distinct pull of the front of the rib cage down. Second side. Hover left shin bone. And I'll just ballet point those left toes for now as I allow my body to negotiate this single leg work, this little flamingo. So you stay strong on both sides of belly, hips side by side, not a terribly exaggerated lean to the right. Just keep pushing out of these blocks. And then first float of the left thigh bone out to the side. You'll add that more squat-like bend of the toes backwards. Outer hip engaged, hips side by side, pushing blocks. And now use inner thigh fibers to pull to secure that left knee in towards midline. And then think push, thigh moves out, shin bone sticking out, foot bent back, very animated. Pull, push, pull. Pushing out of these blocks as well. Push the thigh, the shin out. Pull, push, pull, push, pull. 3 more. Let's push, pull, guts up, thighs together, push, pull, push to hold. Refining, keeping balance, expressing that foot for 5, 4, 3, 2, and then lots of inner thigh to gather left leg back to middle. Regroup, finding the tops of the feet, pushing out of the blocks. Let's bend toes back. Body might have a good sort of unsteady feeling as you do so. Toes are bent underneath, so you're standing on them. The ankle is already expressed, much like it would be for a squat. Push out of your blocks, and then we'll alternate from side to side. Float the right thigh, squeeze it in. Left thigh, squeeze it in. You get the idea. Try to make it continuous, almost as the lifted thigh moves in towards midline. You're on your way, you're ready to lift the other one. So keep moving, keep alternating. The dynamic of it, maybe a bit more of an inner thigh stretch in some bodies. The next time you stick the right leg out, stay. And then think of a hacky sack. Think of sort of a kick that comes from the inside of the shin, inside of the arch of the foot, as you pull the right foot forward and onto the floor beside the block. So as delicately as you can. The foot angled at that 45 like it would be for a squat. Then we can be a little less fancy on the return, but feel the ankle work, maybe the ballet point that it takes to get the right leg back to where it was, with toes tucked under. Left leg goes out. You work the swoop of the shin, the hacky sack of the ankle to get the left foot on that 45. And I'd like it to be beside the block, so at that chest level. The leg arrives, so now you're getting very close to your squat. And then whatever it takes, perhaps a little ballet bend of the foot to get it back to where it was. Right leg, stick it out, hacky sack the foot, land it. Then sneak it back to where it was. Left leg, out, hacky sack, step, sneak it in and land it. Keep alternating. Again, as the movement gets a little more dynamic, a little more reppy, it's harder. Sometimes it's harder, but it's a little more mobilizing. A little bit more oil added to the hips. A couple more, you're pushing out of your blocks. And then right foot steps and stays. Your chest can travel a little bit forward as the left foot finds its squat as well. So sit down. Let's use these blocks a final time. Last time using these babies, you can send them forward, and that can be our first big squat. So let the arms have this pseudo reach towards them as you observe your first squat. You're peeking down to check out the feet turning out. And as you reach for the blocks, one of a nice universal cue for your squat, or thought for your squat, a squat thought, is that your spine is forward in such an angle that it's kind of mocking the way that the shins are leaning forward beyond your ankles. Without a big back bend, just pull your skull a little bit back and float your arms. Grounded on your feet, you can always peek down and check. You'll notice me doing that. Checking for the feet not so much falling in. Keep the sides of the thighs strong. Let's pull the arms straight down, pop the head up, go very, stand, squat down. Use the pull down of the arms, the hardness of the heels to stand. Squat, stand, squat, pull down the stand. sit, stand, sit, stand, sit, squeeze elbows, stand, 3 more, sit, stand, sit, stand, sit, squeeze, and stand. Squat to stay, and to make the room around you safer, do really get the blocks out of your way. I'll wiggle backwards. And then from here, you can let the squat go a little bit messier, so the feet could go wider. The toes could turn out more, so we're into more play. This is not counting as our official squat, it's a variation of it. As I'm showing, you can take your elbows and move your knees wider. Hands up like you're being arrested. Take a few moments like that. The elbows just pulling the inner thighs towards the knees. The hands spread. And then just once, remember, because we're always layering, we're always remembering, remember the nice bench press that you did on the floor. We'll just add the neck to it, and of course we're in a squat. Push your hands forward, make your middle back big, and then you can bring your head down so it's not feeling out of balance. It's part of that roundness of the spine, and just feel responsible here. Feel the possibility of your middle back strength, this new need for the feet and the butt to hold you up now that the elbows are not on the legs. Now, let the eyes go down, or let your eyes land at the top of your mat, best way to put it. Your elbows bend into your knees. Move your already spread hands onto the floor, and then don't freak out, just tip your head forward. Your heels will lift. Let's do that a few times. Let's just lift the heels, briefly stand on your hands. And then maybe you can keep your elbows attached to your body as you lower your heels back down. That'll be our exercise before we stand on our hands. So, lift your heels and on purpose, rock the weight of your head forward. Your middle back is performing a bit of that roundness as previously established. Then just go back onto your heels. Keep doing this at your own pace, your own count. The mover being the heels, and you're just getting more confident with the skull leaning forward, your weight dangling over your wrists on those forward movements. In some bodies, it's a little wrist stretch. And then you don't have to hold it for very long. The next time that you propel forward, spread and lift your toes. And now in a backwards motion, let your elbows shovel and scoop you backwards into a squat. Let's go into being arrested. So you can have a nice round spine, guts up, hands open. And then follow this through. Fall over, let the hands and the eyes go down. Stick your heels up, your toes out, push yourself backwards. Arrested, fall over, lift your heels, spread your toes, shovel yourself back and away. You're arrested. Your hands fall over, your head falls over, heels lift, toes lift. Push yourself backwards. Got a couple more, hands up. Fall forward, lift heels, spread toes, shovel backwards, hands up, hands down, heels up, toes up, shovel backwards. I've got room for one more. So it'll be a bit playful on your mat, different from mat to mat, from living room to living room. Let's do one more. Hands up, hands down, heels up, toes up, shovel backwards. And gorilla to get to the top of your mat. Let your wrists hang a bit so the fingernails can be on the floor, hands scooped under. Now for flow, for fun, the hands brush forward until they flip. Think of pull power in your arms and in your butt as you pull the feet beside the hands. Brush the hands forward, pull. So I just had room for 2 of those. Let's do that one more time, the same sequence. You're arrested, so your hands can lift. Your elbows are against your knees. Land your hands down, lift your heels up, lift your toes up, and then take yourself. Commute backwards. Pushing off of the elbows, hands up. Your spread hands down, lift your heels, lift your toes, and then go backwards. Hands up. Hands down. Heels up, toes up. Go backwards. Hands up. Hands down. Heels up, toes up. Go backwards. Hands up. Hands down, heels up. Lift the toes. Backwards. Do one more. Hands up. Hands down, heels up, toes up, go backwards, whoop. And then gorilla forwards, just two. Backs of the hands, pull, follow through, reach, pull on the armpits, arrive in that squat. And then let's clean up the squat, reach your arms forward, fix the feet to their 45-degree turnout. Let your hands pull down as your head comes up. Think knees towards second, third toe. Remember, recall the cue of the spine being very similar to the shin in terms of its forward angle. You'll sit, arms forward, stand, arms down, sit, squeeze down, sit, squeeze down to stand up, sit, down to stand, sit, 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 stand. Last one. Down and pop up. A walking flow. This will continue to mobilize and stabilize your hips. With hands on your hips and feet at your hip width, round your sit bones a little bit towards me. So you tuck your butt a little bit under so your low back and maybe your belly as well feel longer. Lift right heel, float right thigh. And then incredibly similar to what you had done on hands and knees and even on the floor laying on your back, let's bring this right thigh out to the side. It's a very squat-like, outer hip strong, arch of the foot really facing me. To make our backwards walk happen, point your toes, and then curl this hamstring. Think about the back of the leg strengthening the heel to the sit bone. Your bent knee will practically point down as you swivel the leg behind you. Let the top of the foot come onto the floor behind the left heel, and then 12 o'clock the right toes so that you can land in a normal footprint, but you're on a tightrope as your left leg rises. So left leg just lifted, the toes are bent back. Pull your thigh out to the side. Point your toes ballet style now. Pump this hamstring to pull your heel to your sit bone. The knee can point down, then toes fix themselves onto the floor. Let the left ankle face front, so you have to do a little spin. Land left heel, float right thigh. Right thigh turns out. Make an effort to squeeze outer hip. Point toes, hamstring curl. The knee will point down as you place foot behind left one. Stand on that right heel, lift the left leg. And then let's just do one more. Left thigh turns out. Toes point, bend the knee to the floor as your foot goes behind you. Toes onto the floor, rub the foot to that 12 o'clock position. And then you can just stand in a tightrope for a moment. Let's walk forward with a basic glute med strength. So feet side by side. Let the feet stay in their 12 o'clock position as the right thigh does a kick out. Stop to squeeze and notice the right outer thigh. And then just tidy, kindly place that right foot in front of the left one. So a little inner thigh squeeze. Left leg kicks. Inner thigh squeeze to return foot to the floor. Left or right leg out. Squeeze inner thigh to pass the foot in front of the left one. Left leg kicks. Take it out in front. Right leg kicks. Help it out in front. And then feet can go side by side. Let's do the same backwards walk, same forwards walk-ish, and then we'll add on. Right heel lifts, right leg is the starter. Take the leg out to the side. Point the toes to bend the knee behind you, underneath you. And then let the standing leg bend as you lower the right toes, onto the floor. So you have both knees sticking out now. Your standing leg is your left one. Keep that foot grounded. The back heel will be undone. Let's go with a wider arms reach and then squat. So it'll be a little shaky to get down here, but you have the back heel, the right one, lifted. The left foot, the front foot, grounded. Use your side body strength, your arm strength, and your hamstring strength to stand up. So pull your pits down, lift the skull up, squeeze your legs. The back foot's going to have to turn to 12. Left leg floats. Return arms to the T, left leg wide. Point toes, get the left leg behind you. Rebend the toes, let the standing leg bend as you squat. So the front foot is our right one. That right heel is down, the left toes are very bent under. Pull your arms, your lats down as you stand up. And then arrange the feet. Back foot will face 12 o'clock, right leg floats. Arms examined out to that T shape. Let's do one more each leg, right leg out. Bend the toes, take the leg behind you. The standing leg can already be bending as you squat down. So the knees are both basically 45ing out. Lots of work for the ankles. And then pull the wings of the arms down as your head pops up. You stand. The back foot faces 12. Left leg now floats, arms out to a T. Left leg to the side. Point the toes, scoop the leg behind you. The bent foot lands, both knees bend out. You sit. Pull the arms down as your head pops up. And then just back to the back of the mat. So you can take the feet side by side. Ever so slightly fancier tightrope walk forward. Let's leave the arms out wide for fatigue. Bring the right leg out to the side, but now add a turn in of your big toe. So a little bit more detail. Thigh is abducted and now it's internally rotated. Squeeze the footing out in front of you. As soon as the right foot lands, the left leg sweeps left. Detail of big toe in, which will feel a whole lot different. Squeeze the leg out in front of you. Right leg kicks. Big toe points in. Inner thigh at work as you pull the leg skillfully out in front of you. Left leg out. Big toe in. Squeeze the left footing out in front of you. Let's hold the right leg this time. Kick it out. Turn big toe in. And then stay for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Muscle the right foot beside the left one to make it work. Kick the left leg out. Arm still out to a T. Point big toe in. 5, 4, 3, 2, and for 1, squeeze that foot in. Arms out in front of you. Let's keep the arms tired if they are tired. Step the feet to your squat width, so a little wider than your hips. Big toes point out. Sit down, squat down, arranging it. And then big pull on the hands, big step into the heels as you stand up. Arms going down. Sit down, stand up. 3 more, sit, stand, sit, stand, sit, stand. 1 more, stand up. Pull feet together. Find a tabletop position. So back onto hands and knees. Hands at your shoulder width. Fingers aggressively spread. Knees hip width or maybe more narrow than that. Toes tuck under, so figure out how to get those feet bent. Make the middle back big, as in still that bench press work. Shoulder blades spread. Lift your shins up off of the floor so you're standing on your toes. And let's keep the neck straight. Just emphasize, just exaggerate the shoulder blades spreading, the front of the rib cage pulling down. Tap your knees down, nice and controlled. And then keep engaging, middle back wide, front rib cage down, lift the shins, and then land them. Give them a lift, land, 3 more, lift, land, lift, land, upper body firm all the while, lift and hold. Just a few crawls to finish things up here. Alternating sides, step your left foot, right hand back. And then a left hand, right foot back. And then keep going to the back of your mat. Won't be very far. I'm there. And then just go forward. I'll keep you on the mat just for convenience, just for living rooms. So it's still opposite hand, opposite foot. And then just crawl backwards. Still opposite hand, opposite foot. Those toes nice and bent. Middle back lifting you out of the floor. Go forward. Go backwards. Go forward. Backwards. Let's go forward one more time. Land in tabletop. Toes still tucked under if you can. Just wag yourself onto the mat. If you're off the mat, come back onto it. Knees close together. Toes still bent under if you can. Let's really spread the middle back. And lift the shins. Try just hovering your right hand. And then land it, switch. Left hand. Land it, switch. Land it, switch. Land it, switch. Land and switch. Land and switch. Land and switch. And then land. Lift right hand, hover left foot. 5, 4, 3, keep pushing out of the floor for 2, for 1, same thing other side, left hand, right foot, 5, pushing out of floor, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Tabletop, knees down, simple seated. Slow your breath and thank yourself. Thank you for joining me on this squat flow.